For this portion of the workshop, we are going to implement the Risk Negotiation Cycle, or RNC, from the perspective of Senior Counsel. The RNC was developed by Kassing and Waldron and is based upon a cycle of communication involving 4 interlinked phases: attending, sense-making, transforming, and maintaining. The risk negotiation cycle is initiated with the task of detecting and attending to the nature and magnitude of potential risk. After attending, the next communicative task is to more fully explore the meaning and magnitude of risk. This step is known as sense-making. Following attending and sense-making is the process of transforming and/or changing the risky situations for better or worse. Finally, the RNC moves to maintaining, which is engaging in practices that stabilize risk at current levels. Please note that although the phases were laid out in steps, it is possible for the cycle to stop and return to an earlier point, which can lead it to continue indefinitely. We will begin to implement the risk negotiation cycle by first looking at the step of attending. As Senior Counsel, a general rule of thumb for starting the attending phase of the RNC may be to first evaluate yourself to figure out how you handle negative feedback. Ask yourself questions like, are you receptive to change? Do you approach feedback situations with learning orientation? If you answered no to these questions, then you're likely to interpret negative feedback as offensive rather than motivating. Asking yourself these questions and evaluating your personal reactions not only helps you become a better feedback receiver, but aids tremendously in regards to adding perspective when it's time to be a better feedback giver. Now that you have an idea of the attending phase of the risk negotiation cycle, we will move forward and start discussing sense-making. In a law firm setting, it is important for the attorney to understand clearly the client's situation at hand. The attorney should not assume or allow there to be any ambiguity. To help understand fully any given situation where there is feedback to be given in a manager-employee or attorney-client situation, there are tasks that can be implemented to help understand. For example, asking questions, consulting with colleagues, scanning the external environment, and engaging in structured group discussions are all crucial for this stage of the risk negotiation cycle. Once the sense-making phase is complete, Senior Counsel should move to the state of transformation. According to Kassing and Waldron, this stage can be defined as a transformation of negative feedback into frequent communication that is exchanged informally and is turned into routine. When things turn into routine, they are usually done without much thought and become easier with time. In the transformation phase, negative feedback is not only less surprising and threatening to associates and legal assistants, it is easier for Senior Counsels to deliver. Kassing and Waldron suggests that a way to jumpstart the transforming stage may be to involve the firm in multi-source feedback. Multi-source feedback is when a variety of employees within the workplace take place in a feedback assessment. Employees involve colleagues, peers, and other supervisors. The ones taking a part of the assessment are kept anonymous, and the feedback is given only to the recipient. This keeps the feedback safe, does not hinder any workplace relationships, as it is hoped to be perceived as a developmental exercise and not an evaluation system. Maintaining. After a successful transformation phase, the practice of delivering negative feedback will become safer and for Senior Counsel and more comfortable for employees. Once obtained, the practice must be maintained. The question is how? It is essential that Senior Counsel encourages actionable feedback habits so that they do not die down. An incentive may be to reward and praise employees that really step up and continue to use actionable feedback practices. It is also important to keep said practices in place in order to catch developmental opportunities when they occur rather than later when feedback is not as effective. In a law firm setting, it is essential to maintain actionable feedback for learning and developmental opportunities. When this is done effectively, negative feedback is perceived as valuable rather than risky, and can prove to be vital in overall employee development in the area of negative feedback. Next is the interactive training activity. During this portion of the workshop, we are going to pose examples of incorrect feedback and ask that you choose 3 of them and jot down responses stating what made the feedback ineffective and or risky, or what would be an appropriate alternative that would encourage effectiveness and minimize the risks involved with the delivery and receipt of said feedback. Choice number 1, I just can't trust you. I'll repeat, I just can't trust you. Choice number 2, your performance is highly questionable. I'll repeat, your performance is highly questionable. Choice number 3, do you even know how to stand firm? I'll repeat, do you even know how to stand firm? Choice number 4, you're unprofessional. I'll repeat, you're unprofessional. Choice number 5, you're not committed. I'll repeat, you are not committed. Choice number 6, you're not a team player. You are not a team player. Again, please jot down the responses that you liked and state either what made the feedback ineffective and or risky, or what would be an appropriate alternative that would encourage effectiveness and minimize the risks involved with the delivery of the receipt said feedback.